I was possessed of inside information, and I had to be extremely careful at dinner parties and things like that, where people say, "Oh, when's the next Harry Potter, Stephen?" I go, "I believe in the next 3 months, probably." In fact, knowing that I was going to start it the next week. Hello, I'm Stephen Fry, and my narrations of Harry Potter, books 1 to 7, are now available to listeners in the US and Canada. We're going to look back at some of the memorable moments from the series. If you're an actor, from time to time, your agent might call you up and say, "Oh, there's this job here, there's no job at all for you, Stephen." Or they might say, "How do you fancy an audiobook? That's a morning's work, isn't it?" So I said, yes, that would be lovely. The book would be sent round by a messenger on a bike in London. And that arrived, and I thought, hang on, that's not a children's book. I opened it, and it said, Harry Potter. There's Mr. and Mrs. Dursley, who were very normal, thank you very much. And then all these characters arrived that if you're an actor and you like the sound of your own voice, which you sort of have to do if you're an actor, it's about as appealing as a job can be. So I read it all in one sort of fabulous sitting. As Joe produced more books, every sort of year and a half there'd be another one to come and read. They became more and more newsworthy as a story in and of themselves. That's when she realized, and we all realized, that this was a phenomenon unlike any other. You want to color the characters so that each character is different and has a way of speaking, a register, a pitch, an accent if it's necessary. But you don't want it to be so much of a performance that the listener is hearing you too much. Going, "Oh, he's really doing the voice now, isn't he?" You want them just to be in the grip of the story. You never want the voice to sound tired or bored, just as in music dynamics, where suddenly everything's very, 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 very quick and it's incredibly exciting. And then, oh my goodness. You have to just pull the attention in and keep it alive. Because I was reading once, I don't know, every 18 months, maybe, in the periods between, I obviously forgot how some of the characters sounded. So the engineer, fortunately we had the same engineer, he made these CDs, a catalogue of all the different voices and their names. So when we got to one, it would say, "Oh, Lavender. Was Lavender a very high and silly voice, or was she quite sort of gushy, or, whatever it might be, just something to distinguish her." And he would play it. I go, "Oh my goodness, I've completely forgotten that," whatever it might be. And I think like any performance, it's an act of imagination, not in the sense of imagining the character that you're reading, but imagining the listener, imagining what it's like, where they might be on a car journey, brother, sister, daddy driving, long drive to their holiday up to Scotland, or if it's in America, obviously it would be a lot further, but I was thinking of people in Britain in those days. One of the challenges when playing the voices of Harry and his friends is that they are moving into adolescence, into teenage, and in the case of the boys in particular, there are changes to the voice. But certainly Harry, when he started, his voice hadn't broken, and he was, a young boy like that. And then he becomes a bit more sort of, but you hope it's still his voice, and then it is a bit further down. Because a lot of voice is not accent, it's where it comes from. I did make Ron a bit croaky, because he was just sort of Ron. Fortunately, Hermione didn't have to change too much, just a bit deeper. And that's a really interesting thing as well, is I discovered that very often the best way of doing a female voice was to make the voice deeper, not higher. If you try to do that, it just sounds silly. Whereas a lot of women have voices, especially the ones teaching, they're right down the... But keeping control of them all, I'm sure if someone wanted to be mean to me, they could go through the entire series of the books and find areas where I changed the voice a bit or refined it somewhat. Hagrid, He's so beautifully drawn from the very beginning. When he arrives on his motorbike, his slight clumsiness and his affection. I just instinctively loved him. He was one of the earliest characters to emerge, of course, because it's McGonagall and Hagrid are the first magical people to encounter Harry. The countryside I grew up was in the east of England, and the danger I had was of making him Norfolk accent, which is very different from the Cornish accent, which I felt he had to have, because there has been a long mythical history going back hundreds, thousands of years, in which Cornwall was a land of giants. So the idea that Hagrid came from Cornwall was consonant with English folklore. That line that people always love, Harry, you're a wizard. And they kind of go, woo, because it's what everyone wants someone to tell them. I'm pretty okay with reading. I don't usually make that many mistakes, and I can do pages, one after the other and keep going. And I enjoy doing that. I can't remember which book it was. I think it was the second, The Chamber of Secrets. It may have been the third. But there's a big Quidditch match. And it gets very exciting and very, very fast and very, very quick. And I was doing that and thinking, wow, this is going great. It's really fantastic. I came across a 3-word phrase. That's all it was. And I couldn't say it. And I kept trying to say it. It was the simple 3-word phrase, Harry pocketed it. And I still can't say it. Harry pocketed it. Harry pocketed it. And we were all laughing, and I said, look, let's park it. I'll call Joe Rowling, wasn't in the studio that day. So I called her up and said, for some reason I can't say Harry pocketed it. If you could allow me this change, I can say Harry put it in his pocket. I can say that easily. And she said, no. And not only that, the phrase appears in every single book afterwards. So it's a little bomb she left for me. I knew, where's it coming? Where's Harry pocketed? There it is. So you get things like that, which are deliciously good fun. There are many thousands of books with magic in them, but the Harry Potter magic is particularly special because I think it does come from inside the characters. Yes, it's fantasy. Yes, it's pretending there's a world of magic. But really the qualities that make Harry the hero are his courage, his loyalty, his steadfastness. Not his ability to do things out of a wand, but his determination to do the right thing, even in the face of unpopularity, loneliness, even when his friends occasionally desert him. And the reader becomes that person, and it matters to them. And I think there's a generation of Harry Potter readers who feel that it has changed their lives, changed their identities, given them a different way of looking at other people, made them better people, made them stronger, kinder, more empathetic, and all the things we hope to be ourselves. The time over the years that each new Harry Potter book would come, and the feeling that they were working, that children were enjoying listening to them and adults too, gave me immense kind of confidence in this field of performance, because there weren't many actors who did it back in the day. Now it's become very popular. A lot of people don't read books, they listen to them. And Harry Potter came out at exactly the right time, just as this whole idea of walking around became easier because of smartphones and things. And that gives me such a joy to think of. Because you get letters from people saying, I was listening to Harry Potter when I was climbing Everest. And you go, what? If I destroyed their concentration on the particularly difficult wall of ice, and they came tumbling down, I wouldn't forgive myself. But that's the thing now, is that you can listen to an audiobook anywhere. Listen to the entire Harry Potter series, narrated by me, Stephen Fry. Now available on Audible in the US and Canada.